Why do liberals dominate in the media?
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
The conservative blueprint.
920. It's a 900-page document.
A lot of young libertarians and conservatives resist the media as a profession. Why do you think that is?
It can be a hostile place for people with dissenting views.
Digital media has become less friendly to troublemakers.
These are inhospitable places sometimes, I think, for not even right-leaning, just departing from the furthest standpoint of the progressive left.
A major resignation now out of the New York Times.
It is democracy itself that will be on the ballot.
Is democracy also on the ballot?
Democracy is truly on the line.
Democracy is on the ballot.
Almost as disgraceful as the failing New York Times.
Now, when you say that the journalists who walk in the front door of the Times building are doing their best to be fair, I would believe you, except I know for a fact that's not true because I read their Twitter feeds.
Just because of the attack of fake news and attacking our network, I just want to ask you, sir.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine...
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you...
How do we turn this Titanic?
Education and training.
Why do liberals dominate in the media? And do we need more intellectual diversity in it? More conservatives, more libertarians?
We sure do.
Former 2020 host John Stossel recently received more than 10 million views on a video criticizing media bias.
Have you noticed how some in the media just suck up to some politicians?
I'm struck just in your presence.
Struck in her presence.
Looking you in the eye with your passion that you are displaying.
People on the left, the intellectuals who were big believers in Soviet communism, tend to be the writers and the movie makers and the artists. And the people who are more analytical go into engineering and they build things and they're busy and they don't participate in the public debate as much.
I shouldn't be surprised that the media treat Republicans differently. For every Republican in newsrooms, there are 10 Democrats.
We need more of these other perspectives.
You bet.
In the media, right? So there's a special place for the classically liberal kid, the libertarian, or the conservative in the media's future.
Well, yeah, we desperately need more of you to participate.
Right now, non-leftists are badly underrepresented in the media. One recent poll found that just 3% of journalists are registered Republicans. At The College Fix, we're trying to bring more intellectual diversity to the media by mentoring a new generation of journalists. And so far, we've had success, including with alumnus Robby Soave.
It's probably harder than ever to be a real, actual conservative journalist working at like a very elite or mainstream institution. I'm Robby Soave. I'm a senior editor at Reason Magazine, and I host a YouTube show called Rising for the publication The Hill.
A lot of young libertarians and conservatives resist the media as a profession. Why do you think that is?
They're not wrong that it can be a hostile place for people with dissenting views, although I think that can be the case in any elite organization. It doesn't have to be just media. You know, they've probably seen over the years the occasional, blow up.
Consider the case of NPR news analyst Juan Williams, who in 2010 went on Fox News and said,
"When I get on a plane, I got to tell you, if I see people who are in Muslim garb, and I think, they're identifying themselves first and foremost as Muslims, I get worried."
NPR fired him immediately for not being politically correct.
There have been several incidences over the years where Juan has strayed from that line.
It's usually not even a particularly conservative person. It's an otherwise liberal person who just happens to say something that ticks off the rest of the Slack channel or the email chain at one of these elite organizations.
A major resignation now out of the New York Times.
In 2020, New York Times opinion editor Barry Weiss, a fierce opponent of cancel culture, quit the paper after colleagues attacked her on their internal Slack channel.
Leaving the paper after claiming she was bullied by her colleagues.
In a scathing letter explaining her decision, Weiss wrote, quote, "My own forays into wrongthink have made me the subject of constant bullying by colleagues who disagree with my views. They've called me a Nazi and a racist."
All normal people are hearing about this and going, "Oh my, I can't believe you got in trouble for saying something like 60% of the country agrees with."
After the 2016 election, New York Times public editor Liz Spade criticized her own paper.
Now, when you say that the journalists who walk in the front door of the Times building are doing their best to be fair, I would believe you, except I know for a fact that's not true because I read their Twitter feeds. Liam Stack, and I'm quoting now, the Electoral College was meant to stop men like Trump from taking office. Are you kidding? These are news reporters saying this stuff?
Yeah, I think it's outrageous.
The Times fired her and eliminated her position within months of that interview.
These are inhospitable places sometimes, I think, for not even right-leaning, just departing from the furthest standpoint of the progressive left.
The flagrant one-sidedness of the news media has had serious business consequences. Newspaper circulation is tanked, and TV news viewership is way down. The New York Times readers now spend more time playing games like Wordle than reading the news.
And I think journalism right now, one of the problems with it, the reason why I think it's failing in some respects, particularly as a business, is that we've gotten away from our roots. And I think we need more people that call it as they see it.
According to Pew Research, the majority of American journalists disagree. 55% don't believe they should, quote, strive to give every side equal coverage, unquote, including 70% of journalists at left-leaning outlets.
Think about where you get most of your journalists. Where do they come from? They come from the elite colleges who are being brainwashed that America is a horrible place. They need to use journalism as a tool to correct that horrible place in a progressive way.
Now look, the quickest way to spice up a story is to insert an opinion into it. And it gets people's attention, particularly if it agrees with their priors. Being interesting and fair is a challenge, and young journalists need to learn how to do that. They also need what I think is a balanced understanding of American history. The media have clearly joined the resistance, and the coverage of this, I think, has been, in the mainstream media at least, extremely one-sided. And I'm stunned, for example, at the stuff that comes out of the AP report these days.
Hume cited one recent example of extreme bias, an Associated Press headline regarding the death of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah.
And they obits for him, and coming from the AP and elsewhere, painting him as somebody's like your avuncular relative who's inspirational, and the guy's a murderer, the guy's a monster, and is responsible for the deaths of thousands of people by virtue of terrorism. That kind of coverage is just amazing to me that it gets by. I can't believe that people trust it.
Increasingly, Americans don't. According to Gallup, more than 1 in 3 Americans, quote, have no trust at all in the media, unquote, and another third don't have, quote, very much, unquote, confidence.
How do we turn this Titanic?
Education and training. Properly educated students can become fair-minded journalists.
The solution, then, is to write stories that appeal to the half of the country that the mainstream media ignores.
You know, a conservative reporter is, in my opinion, someone who is not afraid to buck the system.
The Daily Wire's Margaret Olohan has carved out an audience by covering stories the mainstream media doesn't.
A lot of young conservatives resist careers in the professional media. Why do you think that is, and why should they consider joining the professional media?
Well, my guess is that they're hesitant to join the media given the bad associations that they might have with fake news, or, you know, the idea that the press is largely lying to us. But I would argue that they could be the one that proves this is wrong. So if you're in college right now, if you're interested in journalism, start writing for your school newspaper. If they're too liberal and they're not interested in you writing for them, look around and see what your friends at other colleges are doing. Writing for the College Fix, for example, is a great opportunity. That's something that I think a lot of young people should take advantage of.
Hello again, John Miller here. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. Also visit our website at The College Fix. If you're a student and you'd like to join The College Fix and try out journalism, find the button on our homepage and an editor will contact you. We got more videos coming, please stay tuned.
Bye-bye.